Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic.
Americans, what do you think of Senator John Kennedy's act proposal to take away Congress pay during government shutdowns? I like Lankford's solution better. The government remains open regardless of the vote, and no congressman, senator may leave Congress until a deal gets done on the funding level and without pay. So the only people facing any real pain are the people responsible. I don't understand how this isn't already what happens. This is an emergency. Why are they allowed to leave during an emergency? Imagine fucking anyone else trying to leave during an emergency. This bushfire has consumed half the state, but I have a 3-day weekend coming up, sir. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison in 2018, when discussing why he holidayed in Hawaii as Victoria burned, "I don't hold a hose, mate, and I don't sit in a control room." Quote. So the rich ones can dig in and the poor ones will cave. I hadn't thought of that. Thanks. That's actually the entire point of all federal office holders having decent competitive pay. They should be beholden to the American people, not private interests. It's why Trump, donating his presidential salary, is so vile. He's clearly saying he's not beholden to the American people, just his own private interests. John Kennedy's net worth is estimated around $8 minus $20 million, so he's not going to sweat a month or 3 without pay. A freshman member of Congress who was not wealthy before being elected is expected to afford a residence in their home district and in Washington, D.C. as well, on a paycheck of $174,000 per year. The upfront costs to acquire and furnish a second home like this, apartment or otherwise, eat through a lot of that in your first year or two. This leaves a lot of your new Congress members vulnerable to being strong-armed into accepting the proposals that might not benefit their constituents but keep them from living out of their office, or b. accepting donations from special interest groups that carry an expectation of quid pro quo support on bills. Posturing. They should ban government officials from stock trading instead. No, a shutdown should trigger an immediate election for all their positions. Other countries do this. Coincidentally, they are often known as snap elections. If there's a government shutdown and you don't show up all day every day to try to get it resolved, you should be ineligible for re-election. Pay is irrelevant for them. You have to fight it by removing them from power. It's strictly performative. He knows it will never pass. Plus they make way more money through unofficial means. This here is the real issue. It's a meaningless gesture. Very few Congress people make a majority of their wealth through the congressional salary, and that's probably a problem, or a whole host of problems, that we should tackle first if we want a policy like that which he's proposed to actually mean anything. Would have no effect. They quickly become very wealthy once they get into office. That's the problem that actually needs fixed. Hard to do when the entire system is rotten to the core. It's been a long time coming, but the US system is so hopelessly corrupt it was inevitable. Perhaps the one good thing that could come from rump is the whole rotten structure finally collapses and we can rebuild something better and accountable. Something more European perhaps. Exactly. We don't need them to lose their pay, we need a clause that makes them lose their jobs if they can't get the government running again. You have 30 days to reopen the government. If you don't reopen it at that time, instant special elections are triggered for every Congress member to keep their positions or be ousted for somebody who will actually do the job. If an employee of any other job in the world just refused to work for a month, they would be fired on the spot. If we have to keep working, so do they. This is the way. I'd say as soon as shutdown starts they have to pay the government back the salary for that session, and no pay as soon as shutdown starts, and if it's not fixed in 2 weeks they lose their jobs. Special elections everywhere. We also need to pass legislation where elected officials cannot own businesses, trade on the market, or sit on boards. Would love to get rid of all lobbyists, or maybe former senators and congresspersons cannot become lobbyists for 10 years after they serve. And term limits for everyone. Yeah, but they're never gonna self-police themselves. Greed will always win. It's performative and empty symbolism. For the few who actually depend on the income, it would just require shuffling some campaign money and loans around, or accept a speaker's fee to make an appearance, a think tank dinner, and make a month's salary in an evening. It's a terrible idea. I'm in favor of them not being allowed to leave the Capitol building until a budget is passed. You get until midnight of the final day of the fiscal year to report to the Capitol. If you do not, you are excluded from the proceeding. If you leave, you are excluded. They don't get to leave until they get a deal done. Rich people value their time more than poor people. They won't fuck around if it means they can't go home. Removing pay will have no effect on the bad actors in Congress. It's a malicious idea. The goal is to ensure that only the wealthiest members of Congress can effectively govern while the rest have to make decisions arising from desperation that opens them up to being taken advantage of. Dispose of his asshole idea. Kennedy is worth around $20 million, so not getting a paycheck wouldn't affect him. And the House representative who proposed similar legislation, Rick Scott, is worth at least a couple $100 million. Then 100% on their income will be bribes and insider trading, rather than only 95%. Performative nonsense. Most countries have immediate re-elections for all new people if you can't pass a budget and the current budget extends. I vote for this. Parliamentary systems are better than what we have in basically every way anyway. It only punishes members that aren't independently wealthy, and those tend to be the ones on the right side of history. No, pay them, but don't allow them to leave chambers until they have a deal. If you don't pay them, then only the richest, greediest, slimiest, most entwined with dark money and insider trading asshole Republicans will be able to afford to be Congress people. And they know this. It sounds good only to dumbass Republican voters who are incapable of critical thought processes. It's supposed to provoke a reaction. We're supposed to say, yeah, don't pay them either, without further consideration of the consequences. Please don't fall for their shit. Not punitive enough. If they fail this basic responsibility, it should trigger snap elections. I think a shutdown should trigger special elections. Political posturing. He knows it only hurts a select few. Most congressional senators and reps are worth millions. I fundamentally disagree with taking away congressional pay during a shutdown. What happens when one party, full of individually wealthy politicians or politicians who get favors from wealthy donors, shuts the government down against an opposition party with politicians who actually rely on their paycheck to continue serving in office? Now you've created an incentive that can literally drive opposition out of office, opposition far more likely to be on the side of the working class. Not nearly as effective as locking them all into a room with walls slowly closing in until they finally come to an agreement. Either that or we get a new Congress. My country's legislative body gets dissolved if they can't decide on a budget bill, and we get snap elections. Maybe that's something you should think about, rather than just cutting pay to mostly millionaires. They surely don't give a shit about their over-the-table pay. And I'm sure your country has a contingency in place so that probably government employees and the like still get paid. Oh yeah, absolutely. Failure to adopt a budget bill within the stipulated timeframe carries serious consequences, both legally and politically. The Constitution of the Republic of Poland provides that if the draft budget bill is not submitted to the President of the Republic of Poland for signature within 4 months of its submission to the same, the President may, within 14 days, order the shortening of the same's term. This situation leads to early parliamentary elections and could mean significant changes in the political landscape. At the same time, to ensure the continuity of state functioning, the Council of Ministers has the ability to manage finances based on the draft budget bill until its final adoption. From the perspective of public finance management practice, delays in adopting a budget bill can hinder the implementation of planned expenditures and impact the financial stability of public sector entities. If the budget bill or interim budget fails to enter into force at the beginning of the year, a temporary financial regime based on the bill submitted by the government applies. This solution avoids administrative paralysis and ensures a minimum level of financial liquidity for the state. I think it's crazy that something as big as the federal U.S. administration just shuts down without a contingency. I read yesterday on Reddit a lot better proposal: keep them closed in building until they will reach agreement. Just like papal conclave. Maybe they should have their ability to be re-elected taken away, and/or their lifetime pension, insurance. Man worth $12 million is willing to forego his modest salary. Sorry but no, congressmen should stay paid. This only punishes the handful of working-class congressmen we actually have and makes it harder and less likely that regular folks can do these jobs. How about dissolving the government so a new one can form? One that will govern. Not an option constitutionally in this country. Not currently, but it could be fixed. A potential violation of the 27th Amendment. All it would have to do to be in line with the 27th is take effect for the next Congress, starting January 27. Thanks for not being stupid. Counterproductive and performative. Many in Congress are wealthy and don't need the paycheck. The ones who do need their paycheck typically represent people and not the ultra-wealthy. So this would only hurt the general population and benefit the wealthy even more. Here's what needs to happen during a government shutdown. Members of Congress do not get paid. Neither do the President, VP, nor the members of the President's cabinet, until the shutdown is resolved. The members of Congress are sequestered in the Capitol building for the duration of the shutdown. The Vice President will be sequestered with the Senate. There will be no recesses until a resolution is attained. The President is sequestered in the White House. He will coordinate with congressional leadership continuously until a resolution is attained. News media, news interviews will be limited to 1 per day. Each evening one member from each party from the Senate and one member from each party from the House will report the progress in attaining a resolution to the shutdown. Other than that, no members of Congress or their staffs may speak to the news media. With these rules, I can guarantee resolution will happen with 12 to 24 hours. Given how many congresspeople are involved in stock trading, real estate, and years of insider information, this is a smokescreen. It's all grandstanding. You want to make an impact. Any congressperson who leaves without passing a budget, or actively refuses to work together to pass a bill is ineligible for re-election and removed from all committees for the remainder of their term. Any House majority or minority speaker that hinders or interferes with Congress's ability to work on a bill will be immediately removed from their position. Any attempt to bypass or bend these rules will result in an investigation of the member, to include financial contributions and receipt of all electronic communications which have been used to conduct official business. I like this. This is a great start.